Hello, and welcome to the first episode of The Composer's Life. Hi, everybody. My name is Nadia, and this is, as you heard, the first episode of The Composer's Life. Just so you know, I am about to graduate from Berklee College of Music with a degree in film scoring. And yeah, so I'm just going to introduce the podcast, talk about what I want to talk about while I do the podcast, and why I'm making it, basically. So that's what this is all about. Nothing too crazy or nothing we're really diving into today. But um, it's pretty self explanatory in the title, The Composer's Life, but I just want to talk about what it's like being a composer and the day to day life and what happens. So, things that I would love to cover in this podcast are scheduling for a composer, how to do it, what it looks like, the kinds of things you work on every day, and then going deeper into the work, so what the composing process looks like, what happens when you reach writer's block, types of projects that you might be doing, whether that be film scoring, video game scoring, a commission, just, generally composing an album. And then also the business and marketing aspect of a composer. So going over social media, finding a fan base, networking, the hardships of it, even how to make money. And the reason why I wanted to make this podcast is I want it to be a resource for other composers, and I also want to learn myself. My situation is basically that I'm about to graduate with a degree in film scoring and, compose for a living. So I just want to help people who might be in the same position, they're just starting out, or people who just like to listen and learn more about composing, people who need inspiration or want to know more. So, um, I'll be talking about my own experiences in this podcast as I go, as well as interviewing and talking with other composers and their experiences with day to day life. And I'll also go through helpful resources like books, websites, all of that. And, there might be some lessons in there of how to do certain things. So that will be what this podcast covers. Um, I hope that hopefully that interests you and it turns out to be a resource for you listening to this. So, just to get a little into my background so you know who I am, because who the heck is this, talking to you on this podcast? So, like I said, my name is Nadia. I'll just kind of start at the beginning of my music story. So, I started piano lessons when I was 6 years old, and they were the worst thing that ever happened to me at the time. I hated practicing, but as I, put more time and effort into it and improved, I liked it. And I had this small piano festival in my hometown that had all of these categories where you played like a jazz piece, a classical piece, romantic, all of that. But one of the categories in it was composing. And that was my first, I forgot the word, but my first like experience composing, the first time I had really ever thought about it or heard of it. And I just loved it. I continued composing not just for the festival, but just on my own on the piano. And I also danced. I grew up doing ballet, and a really important part of ballet and performing in ballets, I feel like I've repeated that like 20 times now, but is the music, because when you watch a ballet, there's no speaking or singing. It's all about the music, which helps tell the story, and the dancing with it. So music just gradually became this huge part of my life, and it always helped me in different situations, even if I didn't really recognize it or realize it. When I had a hard time, I could just go to the piano and play, or, if I was happy, I could do that. It just became this huge um, support for me in my life. So I kind of combined the two in high school. I started composing for choreographers and combining this aspect of music and dance because I loved both of them so much. And when I was a junior, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I really loved composing and I loved dance. I basically just loved art and I loved working with people. So that's when I received this invitation in the mail from Berkeley. It was for a 5-week summer workshop, and I had never heard of Berkeley before. And don't, if you haven't heard of Berkeley before, that's totally fine. This is not the same Berkeley as in California. It's a music school in Boston, but it is just as prestigious, just in the musical, in like world of schools and stuff. So I went to the 5-week summer workshop there and I loved it. It pushed me way outside of my comfort zone, but I still learned and was comfortable enough that I knew I wanted to come back. So I applied to Berkeley, got in, and I've been studying there for I studied there for 4 years, and in the middle of my schooling, I took a break out and went to France and learned French. Very random. Nothing for music, but, anyways, I'm now at the end of my studying and about to graduate. So that's, where I'm at. I'm about to start my career and figuring things out in the music industry. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me. That's all I'm going to talk about in this episode. It's just kind of an intro so you can get to know who I am and get to know the podcast. But if this is something that you would enjoy and that you want to continue listening to, make sure to follow and give it a rating, hopefully 5 stars if you want to, so that others can find this resource too. But that's all I have for you today. I hope that wherever you are, day or night, that you're doing well, and I will talk to you next time.